Set your butane torches to high and your expectations to low. Coming to you live from Just the Tip Cigars in the hills of the Steel City. Get ready to get your fix. This is the Cigar Junkies Podcast. Welcome to the Cigar Junkies Podcast, a cigar show for the community by the community. A forum to talk stogies, booze, food, and anything else in the cigar lifestyle. If you're looking for ratings, negativity, reviews, or an authority on all things cigars, you came to the wrong place. Whether you like what you hear or not, please join the conversation and let us know by finding us at the Cigar Junkies Facebook group or emailing us at thecigarjunkies@gmail.com.
What's up, junkies?
That's all on you. That is all on you.
Bit, but I don't know. We could all just went. And
Eric's the only one that got that right.
Yeah. Well, you know, yeah.
That was terrible.
Absolutely,
that was
I actually kind of liked how terrible
it was. A no good, very bad day.
Mm-hmm. I don't care for these mute buttons. I'm trying to step into that, but what are you going to do?
Well, you weren't really stepping into it today. You were pushed, shoved, forced.
Yeah, it was. To be fair, like I got the live up. To be fair, got the live up at 9:30.
Yes.
The quality of that live is debatable.
Not for
but it's there. You know
not for the lack of you trying to screw it up by plugging stuff into the wrong ports.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had trouble with that before. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I have to say about that.
That's all I have to say about that. So how was your week, bud? How you doing? What are we doing? What's going on? All that jazz.
How was my week? I don't even know what happened this week versus last week anymore. Okay. First of all, I rode my bike to the shop.
I was told this.
Yeah. You weren't here.
Yeah.
Which is why you were told. Or I'm sorry, why you were towed.
Towed.
You were towed.
Totally.
So I got one of those fancy dancy electronic assist bicycles, and the most common response to that is, "Oh, what the hell? You're not going to get any exercise." You know what I mean? It's basic. People are like saying you're cheating, and my thought is, I can get some exercise. I can get no exercise.
Yes.
And what I used to get was no exercise. So I've ridden it a few times with my son on trails, which was kind of like the opposite of the reason that I bought the thing. Because I'm like, if I'm going to ride a bike, I'm not going to throw it in the back of my truck, go to a trail, ride it, and then come home and stuff. Like, it's too much work for me. But after I got mine and started riding it, my son seemed interested. So I'm like, okay, I'll do it.
So now you're doing it anyways, yeah.
But I've ridden it near the house a couple times too. And listeners outside of Pittsburgh, if you've ever heard the expression back and forth both ways uphill both ways to school, that's Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Like it is just uphills everywhere.
Yep.
And there's no way I was riding a bike anywhere in my neighborhood without help.
Yeah.
So this helped. So I decided to come over here, and I made it here relatively well. I hung out for a little bit, went home, and made it about halfway home to the flat part, and my thighs were just done. And I'm going, oh, man, I'm going to have to call my wife and say, hey, can you bring the van and pick me and my bike up? Because I don't got it in me to get home. And fortunately, a few breaks did it, and I actually still had plenty of charge left on the bike when I got back. But I was like worried because it's my first like real trip, and I'm like, I better save it all.
Well, you don't know the fuel level and I the energy level of the battery. You're not like when you get in your truck, you know roughly how far you can go before you have a problem. You have no idea on this thing, right? Like you've never had an electric bike before,
right?
Plus, you've never had this one, so yeah,
right. But there are 5 bars, right? Yeah. And like I hadn't charged it the first few usage, never even dropped down the first bar.
Nice.
And it was still in that condition whenever I left my house. But when I got up, like the last time I looked at it, it had 5 on my way here. And when I got up this hill and parked the bike, I looked down and it had 3. And I went, well, that's not good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I mean, that is a heck of a hill coming that way.
Well, and to be honest with you, I think part of it is too, like it was already probably really close to that first bar being gone.
Yeah.
So I don't think it didn't need 2 bars coming up that hill.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it did do some damage. And so I'm like, well, I got to get down this one, up the other one, and then the whole way back. And once you get out of the park, which is about the halfway point, it's all uphill from there. It's a grade, but it's uphill.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it.
Well, that's because I was riding bikes a good bit a couple of years ago. My buddy and I were started off by joking about the guys on the e-bikes. Then we started talking about it more and more. We're like, you know what? These things are great. Like they're getting people that wouldn't be out at all. You know, like in your case, you're fairly active. Like you do stuff in your yard. Like you do things. But it gets some people that wouldn't get out of their house at all to at least get out and get going. And so, like overall, I think they're a great thing.
Yeah, and Chris Ghost has a good point. Good morning, Scott Robinson.
Scotty Robinson.
And it's, go twice as far as you would without it. Or in my case, like I said, I wouldn't go. I've had a mountain bike for a long time. I don't take it out because it's not worth the trouble to me. I'm not going to be able to do anything with it close to home. This way I can. With that being said, I did not look up the mileage between my home and here until I got back home. And I was like, oh, yeah, that was like 9.9 miles, which is also the farthest I've ridden that bike since I've gotten it as well. It's probably as much as I've ridden it cumulatively until now.
Leading up to there.
So, yeah, it was a bit much.
Oh, that's fantastic, dude. No, it's cool that it worked out for you, too, especially like you said, the freaking hill. Because I'm thinking about it. I'm like, you live here. And then you come down and you go through the park, and then you come up to the shop, and it's probably about the same elevation. Like it's uphill both ways.
It is uphill both ways for certain. It is Pittsburgh accurate, sir.
This one is a severe hill where it's like, all right, get it out of the way. But yours, like coming out of the park and going up, that is just a long
jacket,
nonstop, constant. That one hurts.
Okay, so really the worst part is you're mixing that with the adrenaline of the possibility that you could die at any moment because some of the traffic is aggressive.
Yeah, especially right here.
It would be okay if you were just doing a hill, right? Like if you just had to do this hill and you had your time to get up it as you please, that's fine. But when you know there is a bunch of ticked off drivers in line behind you waiting for their opportunity to get past, and I'm staying as close to the side as I can.
Yeah.
But like these shoulders are not in the bestest of conditions.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I've gotta get up this as fast as I can so that I don't get run over from behind, which sounds like most of Eric's Friday nights.
He said he knows you.
Actually, they might have had that the opposite way though. Anywho's.
Yeah. Different.
Let's not think about it too hard. Any of us.
Yes, please. Let's not. Let's move on.
So apart from that, I had one other activity that happened that I can think of actively on my brain. The Strum Junkies played a show at Liberty Pool on Thursday, which was super cool. It's funny because I'm setting up my gear, and I'm like 90% complete. And Nick isn't even there yet, right? But I've got...
What's up, Colby?
Hey, Colbs. I've got my gear set up, right? And I've just finalized. And Ellen finally comes out. I hadn't seen her until this point. And she goes, ooh, you look like you're going to be loud. And I'm like, I can turn this down as low as you want to. She goes like, maybe we should set you up outside. And I'm like, maybe you should have said that a half an hour ago. It's too late now. Like I can't.
That ship has sailed.
I'd love to, appease you, and I would have no problem playing outside. But like, we're a little past that. Would have
been a good night to play outside. Too.
It was a nice
night.
Yeah, it really was. So we play the first song, and we don't have the swear jar here, so I'll find my way around it. So we play.
Why
the
don't we have
song.
the swear jar here? We're gonna go back to that.
Oh,
because you didn't like it anymore.
That was the microphone cable. There's alternates. So anywho's, she comes over and she's like, after the first song, she goes, "You guys are effing amazing, but you're also too effing loud." And I'm like, okay, cool. I'll bring it down. Let me know if this is cool or not. I'll turn it up, turn it down, whatever you need. Come tell me. And nobody ever came back over. Yeah, however,
I think I'm good then.
When the first two tables in front of us finished eating and drinking and moved on, Ellen and one of the other employees of the shop, we don't have the quarters, it's fine. Ellen and one of the other employees of the shop says, yeah, reach in there.
Get in there good and deep, boy.
They come over and they move those tables that are now empty away from us. And I thought to myself, that's probably a bad sign. Like, we're probably still loud.
Oopsies.
So I bring it down a little bit more. And the sad thing is like Shannon and Nick's wife were there. A few other people. We brought in, a decent crowd to come see us. And they're like, would have loved to have those tables that were closed. But one last thing on this. The problem was I'd talk into the microphone in between songs. I'd be like trying to rile up the crowd and stuff. Nobody could hear me. nobody could hear me. And
I
so
got
I'm
nothing.
thinking, like, what are we doing here? They can't hear us. Who are we playing for?
Yeah.
Well, it turns out Shannon told me, after the first set was over, she goes, we can't hear what you're saying when you're talking. We can tell you're talking, but we can't tell what you're saying. When you're singing and when you guys are playing, we hear it perfect. It sounds great.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, that's fine. We'll get through the rest of this. I just won't talk as much in between the sets and stuff. So
Yeah, that has to be an acoustic nightmare in there.
It's weird because the sound actually travels really well, but because of the shape of the building, the sound goes, but it doesn't come back.
Yeah.
It's like radar and stealth fighters. Right?
Yeah.
The radar reaches the plane, but it doesn't come back.
Never comes back.
So you get no feedback. And I've got my monitor. I'm fine on that. But I can't tell what they can hear and what they can't. And whenever I talk to them, they don't talk back. So I was like, I don't know. But I'm going to jump ahead to the participation trophy of the week real quick.
Okay.
And say a shout out to Kevin Burgess and Dina Pritchard for coming out to, as they so eloquently put it, seeing the other side of Corey.
The other
Appreciate
side.
you guys coming out and hanging out with us. That was cool.
Oh yeah.
So how was your week?
Good. It was all just a build up to the party. That was it. It was I'm trying to think. Really, this week was just business as usual. And then yesterday we may or may not have surprised Mr. Eric over there. And
Yeah.
we redecorated a little bit in here. We had
It was still decorated when I come in.
oh yes, it was a
There were potatoes
it was a night.
everywhere.
Yes, there was potatoes all over the place.
I heard it was good though. Somebody said they gave it a 4 out of 5. They said they were one toe short of a foot.
Almost there. We were hoping for the best. Did you see the cake?
I have not seen the cake. No.
You've not seen the cake?
No.
Oh, there's still remnants of it.
That's what
left.
Chris must be hungry because she was asking about what's on the snack table, and
Yeah.
I was like, it appears to be leftover cake and pizza from the party last night.
Yeah, the pizza
which is
did
so
not
weird.
make it. The last slice was eaten at like 11 o'clock last night, so that was perfect. But yeah, the cake is totally amazing.
Yeah, somebody was like, "You ordered too much," and you were like, "I told you they'd eat it."
I told you. But yeah, nice cake. Said toe day is the day.
Next year's cake's gonna be better if I have anything to do about it.
Yeah, we're gonna start planning now for next year's. We weren't elaborate enough. But yeah, so that was yesterday. We had a blast. I don't know if you enjoyed yourself or not, but everybody else had fun. He said he personally was overwhelmed. And he said, thank you.
We are awesome, but guess what? So are you.
Yeah.
We love you, Eric.
Yeah, exactly. But other than that, man, it was just business as usual. Chris Scale said she does not understand the toe reference. Could you elaborate?
Eric, can I elaborate? He used to have 10, but now he has 9.
That's pretty much it.
That's
yeah.
it. We're just that simple, kids. We
that's it.
We find something funny and we just hang on to it. Unlike his toe.
Yes.
We just hang on and keep going,
It's a good way. Yeah. Well, at least he doesn't have to worry about having a hangnail now
That's right.
Or yeah.
What I said is it must be really nice to walk around your place in the middle of the night and go,
yeah.
Hey, wait, that didn't hurt. Didn't stub my toe.
Smack it on anything.
Yeah. I'm thinking about getting both of mine just removed for that purpose. You know what I mean?
See, that's the problem. I never stub the big toe. It's always the pinky toe.
Oof,
that's the one I jam into the corner or something.
I did often, as a younger man, get ingrown toenails.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have one, you will always stub your toe on something every time. And you pull it out of there and just hope that your shoe's not full of blood. Well, there's no shoe actually most of this time, but sock, whatever.
Yeah, I know what you meant.
Experience. No, it's not good. Have you ever had the ones where you go full Peter Griffin? You can't talk. You just want to scream, but you can't. It's just sucking air.
Yep.
And then, what's wrong? What's wrong? And you want to tell them, but you can't.
You can't. There's no words left. No. So do we want to get into this? Because it's not a very large cigars.
I suppose it is possible for us to do so. Let's find out what it is.
It's time for the Cigar of the Week, brought to you by Leaning House Fine Cigars. The Leaning House is your destination for the ultimate cigar smoking experience. Whether you're exploring their wide selection of premium cigars, unwinding in their comfortable lounge, or enjoying live music on one of the most unique and intimate live music venues in the burg, the house has something for everyone. Do you want to try the stick we're smoking today? Stop by leaninghousefinecigars.com or visit Dave in Bell Vernon or Heidi in Brownsville. Wherever you are, make the house your home for premium cigars.
Make the house your home for LFD. We thought it would be fun to go back to back, and ironically, what do we? Oh, I don't care.
Well, you're the one talking. I'm
Yeah,
sure
but I think everybody's
more approach.
much happier when I leave the camera on you. You know what I mean? Especially this guy. We thought, all right, so here's how great and catastrophically this idea that I had failed. I was like, how cool would it be if we did the LFD double Lajero, and 1 week we'll do the Digger because it's the most massive premium cigar you could get. And then the week after we'll do the Chiselito, which is tiny in a different shape, and we'll see how they compare to each other. Well, Sam, I think you actually missed the boat because last week the Digger was good. It was actually really good. And I don't think it was going to be as bad as you would have remembered from your more amateur days.
Yeah.
What'd you do?
I do have regret from that.
What did you do?
What do you mean, what did I do?
What did you do with your cigar?
I gave it to RJ.
You gave it to RJ, right?
Yeah.
So me and Jason at least had it. And I thought, well, Jason and I will be able to discuss the differences between these two cigars next week.
Not so much.
And I don't know if you guys noticed, but there's no Jason here. No. Jason actually, to his credit, seemed to have been up on time and on his way in here. And he ran into problems with a tranny.
Yeah, it happened.
Which we've all been there.
Yes. I mean, what? No, that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Slippage, slidage, just wouldn't shift. Couldn't get here. So now I'm the only one that smoked both of them between the two of us. And you've already preemptively given his away.
Oh, yeah.
So he can't even weigh in later. He'll just have to make the house his home for premium cigars and go over to Leaning House and pay for one, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
As one does. So the details, though, are we are smoking the La Flor Dominicana Double Lajero Chiselito. What's a Chiselito, you ask? Well, it's a 5x44. So it's not the largest of cigars. Show off the size to the kids.
Show them the little guy.
Show them the itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini.
Which we did last week as well, yeah.
The cool thing about this actually is the first cigar shape ever to be patented. It has a wedge-shaped head, just like me, just like a chisel. You don't need a cutter for this one, according to them. You can just squeeze the tip from the sides, just the tip, and you're ready to smoke, which is how I did it.
And same here, and the draw is perfect.
Yeah, it works pretty well. I
mean, it was very convenient. You grab, you squeeze, you grab the piece of the cap that's there, and take it off. So, yeah, 10-10 would
squeeze again?
Would squeeze again. Thank you.
Anywho, what's actually, I was thinking that I might open this cigar up later with a straight cut. But due to the fact that we're smoking this on the show and I'm trying to make it last that entire time, I don't think I will. I think if you want to get your time out of this, squeezing it's the way to go.
Yeah.
You remember Squeeze-Its? Terrible drink, fun idea.
Oh, yeah. With the twist top and then, yeah.
And the little top looked like a spaceship. And
you fly it around. It looked like the Galaga spaceships.
Yeah, came with a little toy.
Yeah. Except there would always be a little bit of juice in there, and you're like trying to get it. I'm so glad the camera was on you. I'm so glad the camera was on you.
Did not see that coming.
Yes, that's what she said.
Yeah.
I'm really glad the camera was on you for that.
Who needs Jason?
I did it. As soon as I did, I looked down. I'm like, oh no. Okay. Whew.
We would have had us another reel for
sure. That one would have been a thing.
Would have been a good time. Man, nothing beats 90s marketing, man. Like those 90s commercials were the best.
Where they tried.
Yeah, dude. Like if you don't have an addictive product like cigarettes, whoever was selling that stuff in the 90s, those guys could rule the world.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's a good chance a lot of them are in Washington right now. You wouldn't even know it.
Yeah, they managed to sell junk.
You remember Skip It? Them damn Skip It commercials and crap? Like,
yep.
Blow Pops? The Blow Pop commercials were off the chain.
Yeah, those were nonstop. GAC.
GAC. I forgot about GAC, but it's a good one, too.
Literally just slime.
Yeah. Dude, the amount of products they sold us that just were like nothing.
I miss, and my kids are never going to get to like truly experience the Toys R Us Christmas catalog. Every year, you'd get it.
The big toy book.
That's right, the big toy book. And you'd just be
Eric
sitting there
has one of
circling all
those,
the
but it's
stuff you're
different.
never going to get. Yes.
Basically, I always had a copy, and everything was circled.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like every single thing until you got to like the girls section, and then it was like, okay, maybe just a pink Barbie Jeep. You know what
Just
I mean?
one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that you could have your GI Joes blow it up or whatever the thing was.
Something like that. I won't disclose to you what some of my Ninja Turtles did to some
Barbies.
unattended Barbies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cowabunga.
Yeah. I'm waiting for one day for those Barbies to come out and join the Me Too movement, and I'll be in some big trouble, you know?
So, on the doll, show us where Leonardo touched you.
There was so much shell.
Oh.
Wait. Donatello's stick was so big.
He had the biggest staff I've ever seen.
I asked him to stop, but he just kept saying cowabunga. I bet you he was. He had all the wood.
If there'd have been a pink one, you'd have liked that one better.
There was a girl for a while. They think there's a girl again, but she was
No.
she was blue.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
No,
no,
doesn't need to
we
happen.
don't talk about that.
No.
No, I'm
That's-
not saying it needs to happen.
No.
Saying
I'm
it
just
did
like, and
everything.
I have nothing against a female Ninja Turtle, but it's just the OG ones, and that's it. Like, leave it as that.
The really wild thing was like the original one they did in the first reboot of the Ninja Turtles. So it was like still the 90s, and she had boobies in her shell.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah,
because I mean that's exactly how a turtle would develop.
right. I don't know.
Turtles don't lactate that I know of. So
These days, I think it would just be like you'd get some eyelashes. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That would probably be it. But
Yeah.
who knows?
Chris Gale said when she was a kid, Christmas catalogs were Sears, Pennies, and service merchandise, plus a few others.
Oh, Troy Harper, what's up, buddy? Good morning.
Ah,
Yeah. So, as we're going on as we're riding this train, I'm assuming that you have not watched the new thing. Is that
the
accurate?
new what?
The new thing. The new TV thing, the new hype thing.
Oh, Fallout.
Yeah.
I'm like most of the way through episode 2.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Yeah,
That's fair.
we're working on it.
That's cool.
Slowly.
That's cool. So I'm not going to do. We don't need to do any spoiler. What's the show's still pretty new, so it's like excusable if you haven't started watching. However, for something that's been adapted from a video game,
It's phenomenal.
it is really good.
I will say the guy that plays Lord Titus cracked me as soon as his helmet came off and you saw who, dude, I was rolling. And
that was how every black guy felt when Darth Vader had his helmet taken off and it was just the little white guy inside.
"Wait,
You're like,
what?"
really? Come on, man.
that and where he comes up and he grabs the dude by the hair and he pulls him off and he's like, now run, be free, go away, whatever he says. And the guy has a little monologue. He puts him down and he's like, stay at peace or something like that. And the guy's like, I'm sorry. And this one's going to take a quarter, but he's just like, I'm sorry. He was fucking my chickens. Just like, I just lost it.
It was like, I don't know if
I was not ready for that. I was not prepared.
So what happens in the wasteland stays in the wasteland. You know what I mean?
Right. But it makes me wonder how many copies of Fallout are being sold because of the show.
So April 25th, Fallout 4 is getting a free update to new gen consoles. So they haven't had one for PS5 or 4 yet. You have the game, it automatically get
it'll
it.
port now. Nice.
Well, always ported, but they're like up-resing the graphics and stuff and fixing some of the bugs, of which there are many.
But that's part of what made the game fun.
So I was talking to somebody at work the other day. I don't remember who it was, but I was like, "Oh, you're a computer guy, right? So you played video games." It was our systems guy. He goes, "Yeah." I was like, "You ever play any like Fallout or Bethesda games?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "That's how I would describe our mill. We've got all that Bethesda jank. You know what I mean? Like it gets the job done, but you're playing it and you're going like, all right, quality control was not really priority one here. You know what I mean? Like this is obviously held together with like bubble gum and
like,
Scotch tape.
The end product, we will make it to the specs we need to make it to. How we get there, though, is not It's not the most efficient method.
Yeah, we're not going to get you there. Like you're going to have to walk around and you're going to have to just start scrapping things and taking parts from one thing and putting them together and
make it work. Because from what I understand, most of the equipment where you work hasn't been made in a very long time. Parts have not been made in a very, very long time.
Most of the stuff there is significantly older than me, and it looks like it's from like the old Star Trek and Frankenstein movies. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like the props from that stuff. When you're like, oh, they just made this up for sci-fi. They're like, no, that stuff existed. So
yeah, that was a thing.
They just took and repurposed it.
Yep.
It's like, who's going to know what all these flashing lights and buttons are for?
Did you ever look into like some of the like popular props, like what they were made out of originally?
Some.
I'm trying to think of some.
Lightsaber is a camera flash.
Yeah.
You know that?
The flash tube.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of them. I went down a rabbit hole of like reading about those one night, and some of them were amazing. The different ways that like these guys were like, oh, well, if we just paint this green, it'll work perfect for this.
Right.
Like, wait, what?
I was seeing that in you run across those on Facebook all the time, and there was a thing where they said essentially, and they redid this for some of the more recent projects just because they did it in the old days, where they painted solo cups and stacked them on top of each other to make them look like really big things in the background. You know what I mean? Like these strange conic shapes, and they're just solo cups, and they did it again, and nobody knew.
So
how would they know?
They never know. You unbanded. Was there? You just got close to it, or
I
just
was
felt
close
like doing
to
it?
band. It is a pretty big band to cigar ratio, right?
Yes.
There's a lot more band than cigar.
Yeah, the band is the same height as it is on the digger.
Yeah.
It just perspective. It looks bigger in her hand.
They were like, we can go steel mill route here and just use the same size band on every size cigar. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, can you imagine trying to put the digger one around this though? It'd be like 4 times around.
Hot dog down a hallway.
So what are your thoughts on? I've never had the Chiselito before.
I haven't either. Not that I've had a chisel, but not this size, and maybe not the double Lajero either. It's hitting really well, man. Like it is. You kind of think maybe you're going to get hit with a little more power because it's a smaller cigar.
Yeah, not at all.
But here's the thing. It comes back to the name, right? Think about what the name is. It's double Lajero.
So they doubled the filler.
Right.
It's not the wrapper strength.
Your strength is coming from the filler on this cigar, which is typically true of a Dominican product anyway, right? Whereas like a Nicaraguan or something, you might be getting a lot of strength from a wrapper. Yeah. But because this is, Dominican and obviously doubled up on the Lajero.
And Sumatra. And I was actually surprised. I never paid attention to what these, because I don't carry them, so I haven't read into them. I had a guy yesterday come in, and he's like, do you have the LFDs? And I was like, no. He's like, oh, I like the one with this band. And I grabbed this out, and I was like, you mean like this one? He's like, yeah, that one. I'm like, I'm sorry. These are, and I told him before I was like, I went to grab the bag, and I was like, look, before I do this, these are for our podcast. I don't have these in stock. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure it's the right cigar. And he's like, yeah, that's the one. I was like, all right.
Yeah,
he's like,
have it.
I like really strong cigar. I'm like, all right. So I give him Jacob's Ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah. He wasn't prepared.
Yeah. Too strong.
He was not ready for that. He said, he's like, I enjoyed it. He's like, but I want another cigar and I want something that's nothing like that. And I was like, yeah, I don't blame you.
So you pulled a Fanboys. Did you ever see the movie Fanboys? It was about the Star Trek kid or the Star Wars kids leading up to the Phantom Menace. And essentially, like, they're these kids that were, super original Star Wars nerds when they were kids, and they grew up and grew apart. But one of them has terminal cancer.
Okay.
And he's not going to make it to the release of episode 1.
Oh.
So they come up with this plan to travel across the country on a road trip and break into Skywalker Ranch so that they could see the movie before he dies. Great movie. But the one guy owns a like a comic shop style thing, And so these two guys come in and they're like, hey, what can we help you with today? And he's like, hey, man, how much for the phaser, the phaser gun? And he's like, we don't hawk Trek here. He's like, well, then why is it in the case? And he's like, so that we can spot Trekkies like you and tell you to get the F off our land. What? Get the F off our land, and they throw him out of the place. It's pretty good. So like that's what
Yeah.
you did to this guy. You were
I
like,
was like, you mean this one? Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't have this.
no, we just got this here just to break your heart.
Yeah, this is.
That's
We just had like, oh, this guy, this
Mhm.
little guy. Don't worry about that little guy.
Don't worry about
Don't worry about that little guy.
Yeah. Good
I
job,
will say-
Rabbit.
Compared to what I remember of the digger, this is significantly better.
The digger was actually not too bad either. I like this. It's kind of funny because they're opposing problems for me. This is not enough of this cigar for me. The digger is too much of the cigar for me.
They do
Like-
make it in sizes in between.
And yes, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Maybe try a Toro. You know what I mean? But I should probably do that.
If I remember right, they have like 12 or 14 sizes of this. That's when they went crazy on Vitolas.
Yeah, LFD goes deep on some of those guys.
Yeah.
Unlike, the
Me?
few really,
Oh.
unless it's popular.
Yeah.
If it's popular, no, you're getting like one size, maybe
Yeah.
two. Which I'm going to ask you on the count of three. I'm going to give you a second to think about it, but I want you to tell me your favorite LFD. We're both going to say it at the same time on three and see if we become best friends. Okay.
Yep.
1, 2, 3.
Lennox. Yeah, that's
Yep.
that's an easy one.
Good housekeeping.
Oh yeah, that cigar is just
It's really good.
yeah, phenomenal. Well, let's I showed you those couple cigars that I got in that I'll figuring out how to set up for, but
I don't think I've ever. I can't remember if I ever crossed the God of Fire off my bucket list.
I
or
have not.
I don't think I have. I
I'm
think
not-
that's one of the ones we talked about very early on.
Yeah.
In the show.
It's one of those brands that to get them, there's so much other stuff you have to buy.
Are there hoops?
Oh, there's. It's a Nintendo game.
When I
trying
saw
to get to it.
when I saw the, you were like, "Hey, look in this bag," and I was like, "I don't know if I want to." And you're like, "I know it's new inventory," and I looked through the collection in there, and I was like, "You found a workaround somewhere,"
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
a lot of this stuff is like,
Yeah.
I don't think you've like met the minimum criteria.
No.
Like you've not done the prerequisite classes.
Not even close. But yeah, no, I got a pretty good collection of Opus X's and God of Fires in yesterday. And I'm having the problem where I really want to try the God of Fire. Like I really want to try the God of Fire.
Yeah, and you're
But I
like, but I only
really-
have like one box.
Yeah, I only have 10 of them.
You know that you're going to do better if the box isn't full, though.
If the what?
If the box isn't full, you've come to that
Oh,
conclusion.
yeah, yeah.
Remember, you just
Yeah.
got to space them properly.
Yeah, but yeah, no. Even at my cost, I'm like, that's still expensive.
Yeah.
So
All right. Well,
Yeah.
speaking of prerequisites, let's get
Mhm.
into the cigar news, shall we? Because the first one on here is a little bit interesting. I think it's something that's going to excite me. Anyways, I don't know. Let's see if we could do. I'm afraid I'll mess up the music later if I do this. All right. The cigar news today brought to you by the Cigar Junkies podcast and the Strum Junkies. Speaking of which, we had a show scheduled. I got to get on there and update the Facebook photo, but we had to cancel the Main Street Tavern that
Oh,
we
no.
just picked up 2 days ago. We just
Yeah.
picked up this show, and now we're not going to do it.
what happened?
Nick is up at camp. They had just sold their old camper up at camp, and they were supposed to get a new one delivered this weekend. And
it didn't
they
show.
are rescheduling to deliver next weekend, so he has to be up there again. Yeah. So this is actually some pretty cool news to me, and probably to the rest of the junkies out there. At the 2024 Premium Cigar Association trade show, I saw the launch of the Cigar Academy. Did you hear about this?
Yes.
This is a project founded by Ricardo Carrione and Thomas Greisen. The Cigar Academy delivers a cigar educational platform and opportunity for certification. I'm sorry, I got
No, you're good.
distracted by the fact that the camera wasn't on me. I didn't want to get yelled at.
I was letting it go for the first one,
Yeah.
and then I was going to tag you on it for the next one.
For all cigar lovers seeking authentic knowledge about the cultural heritage and artisanal tradition of the cigar world, the Cigar Academy stands as the ultimate source, said Ricardo Carrione, co-founder, which, I mean, I don't know why we had to repeat that. It was just in the previous sentence. Ultimately, education is our strongest weapon against misled regulations and to help us protect and nurture the true cigar culture of our forefathers. The educational platform delivers a curriculum of courses through an online learning management system. This, in turn, can lead to formal certifications from leading cigar makers. The Cigar Academy will offer 3 levels of certification. Currently is offering a Level 1 award certification. The Cigar Academy says this is geared toward newcomers and those experienced in the world of cigars. The online curriculum provides an exploration of cigar making history, processes, and techniques. Level 2 and 3 certifications are planned for the future. They will build upon foundation of Level 1, delving deeper into the history, processes, and varieties of tobaccos. The curriculum incorporates in-person workshops, events, and hands-on training at factories and farms. That's not Level 1. That's like Level 2 and
Yeah.
up. So it's pretty cool, though. So I did look it up, and course number 1 has a price tag of $250 associated with it, which
Really isn't bad for a certain.
isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, for any type of online curriculum. So I think it's pretty cool. I think it's interesting. I don't, I think they said it would take 1 to 3 months to complete, depending on the speed of which you go through it. But I'm interested enough to see if, in the future I could get Just the Tip Cigars to sponsor my education. We could get.
I can't get them to do it for me, so you're pretty much SOL, bud.
I was hoping that I could get a grant or a
grant?
scholarship of some kind.
Oh, that's funny. No, I stuff like this I love. It's
cool.
That structured system to actually like learn about it is phenomenal, because the amount of just junk that I learned trying to learn basic stuff.
Sure.
Like you just get so you can learn everything that this course has probably through YouTube, no problem. Good luck figuring out which ones you should and shouldn't watch, though. Which ones are right, which ones aren't.
That's what intrigues me, right? Is I think a lot of this information is going to be repeat knowledge for me.
Mm-hmm.
But the cool thing is, if it's standardized the way you hope it would be, it'll take like the guesswork out of, am I right or wrong about this, because of the type of way that we're pretty much all educated.
Right.
So you're like, all right, this is all definitely coming from experts, supposedly. So
yeah, and I don't know who all was involved in this. I had heard about it. I knew it was a thing, but I didn't look into it at all to see who all was part of it. There's definitely some names that if I don't see in there, I'll be disappointed. But because at the very least, like you need a Carlito or a Perdomo in there,
yes,
just to have that.
So it's not one-sided, and that you have some OGs in there that are giving you good information.
And there's a dozen guys like that. I just named those 2, but like it gives the credibility to it.
Sure. Not to mention the fact that there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And like they're all going to have their own way, but if you're standardizing the knowledge base, you need guys that have, first off, the diversity of knowledge. You can't have one dude sitting there at a keyboard typing up an entire course. That's terrible.
Well, not to mention the fact that I think that you're onto something in terms of like you need enough of the respected members of the culture to at least agree and say, okay, I wasn't integral in the creation of this process, but yes, this is accurate information, right?
Yeah.
Because you can have any scientist can come out there and like you could be a lifelong studied intellectual person, but if it's only through their perspective, you could still be severely misguided, right?
Yeah, it's like the shops, right? You look from shop to shop. Every one of us has different clientele, has to run it a different way. There's certain things we all have to do, but beyond those key items, and that's where the key items of what people need to learn of, the different regions. That's something you need to understand if you want to understand blending at all. You have to know the different regions and know first off the keynotes of it, and then and something that I really want to learn and just haven't figured out a good path to actually do it efficiently is like the different seed varietals in those regions. How do they react to different things? Because you could take Nicaraguan Corojo seed to Honduras and grow it. It's not going to taste the same at all.
Sure.
But is that first generation of it going to taste more similar? Like how long does it take before you get the diminishing taste? Like there's a lot of nerd out stuff on that I would love to know. I just haven't figured out the best way to learn.
It's intriguing, right? And I'm gonna have to do some more research and maybe make some contacts, because This is like the first post high school educational system that I feel like my lack of intelligence and physical capability wouldn't hinder me from getting a scholarship for. It's like, hey, I might qualify. I'm at the top of the class.
I might be able to do a thing. Well, then the other thing I'd be curious about is this versus Tobacconist University. Like, what's the overlap? Is there overlap? What
There would have to be some.
Yeah.
But probably a little bit different because you're gearing towards finding something for a customer versus making something for an industry.
Which Tobacconist University does get into that side of it. That's not the one that gets talked about as much, but like you have that as well as a path from them. And I mean, there's apprenticeship mandates and stuff like that through Tobacconist University that you have to hit before you can get, master blender and stuff like that.
Sure. So this wasn't a super busy week, but fortunately we did have that to talk about in some depth. It was kind of interesting and exciting. Most of the new cigar news had come out leading up to the PCA trade show, right? So we already kind of delivered you all the news on what's new and exciting and interesting. With an exception, I believe, if we did cover this before, I'm sorry for repeating, but as far as I could tell, we haven't. Tatuaje Cigars showcased 2 cigars commemorating Pete Johnson's 50th birthday. The cigars were rolled back in December 2019 at El Rey de los Habanos using extra aged tobaccos. A year later, Pete Johnson decided to foil wrap the cigars into 50-count cabinets. However, the price of the cigars, combined with the fact that few cabinets would be made available, led Johnson to move the cigars to 10-count boxes in September 23. Since Tatuaje stamps dates when the cigars are packaged into boxes, the final packaging will feature both the 2020 and 2023 date stamps. The Tatuaje 50th comes in 2 sizes, Robusto Especial, which is a 5.5 by 52, and a Toro Especial, which is a 6.5 by 52. The blend uses a Corojo 99 shade grown wrapper over Nicaraguan tobacco. Finalized price is not set yet, but tighten up your belts because they're anticipated to be in the 50 to 55 range.
Oof.
So, yeah, if Got a Fire isn't on your list of available to your budget,
Yeah.
Good luck.
You're not
going
to be grabbing that one either.
Yeah, probably not. So,
yeah, the God of Fires have always intrigued me because that's a Carlito cigar.
Yeah.
And then one of the cool things is the Opus pack that I got. It's the yellow. It's a variety of 6 cigars, different year stamps.
Shameless plug.
But as you open that up, you open the box it comes in, and then you open the box that comes in, or they open the next box, and then the bottom of there's a book. And I mean, like,
You should have
got some mass to it.
One of those really popular unboxing videos on YouTube. You could have got some.
I'm sure it's been done 1,000 times.
Yeah, but that doesn't stop them from doing it.
Yeah. But it's, the Fuente story is the book that's in it. And then you take the box that sits on top of that out and you open it up. And then in there is yet another box in a leather pouch. And that's the actual box for the cigars, like the actual dress box for it.
Like, hey, guys, if you just put that in one box and sent it to us, maybe you could cut like 35% off of that price.
There is some serious packaging to that one.
Sometimes I feel like they do that just to justify their prices because nowadays everything's so into packaging.
Yeah.
If we had unboxing videos in the 80s, it would have been in the back of the parents' car as soon as we got out of Hills or Ames, and it would have been this. It would have been, here it is. Now all the pieces are scattered throughout the car. I'm never going to see those nunchucks again.
Well, and then kids kept eating the damn pieces, so now the packaging is so impossible to get apart. You have to have a freaking chainsaw just to crack open your new Barbie.
Yeah, I haven't had that experience recently, but I will say that we had our struggles back in the day too, kids.
Oh, yeah.
If you think that you have problems nowadays, our Ninja Turtles, all their weapons were the same color, and they were all brown.
Yeah.
And you had to disassemble them yourself from this weird
snap
connective tissue.
Which probably gets Jason all excited because he's into those, what was it, Warhammer?
Yeah.
The way he was describing it to me, every character from that, every weapon, everything all comes in those strips. You have to pull them out, pop them all apart, paint everything. I'm like, that is too much.
That was a big deal back in the day. It was like the model kits you would get, all the pieces were held together like that, right? And just because they were like, it's too expensive to mold each one of these pieces separately, we'll mold them all as one, and you could take them apart.
Yep.
The sad part about that is you never, ever had a straight sword.
No,
They
there's always that
had-
one little freaking sharp corner on it.
No, but they would like always have a little bit of a bend to
Yeah.
them. It'd be like a rainbow
Yeah.
sword, you know? It's like,
There was
you
always a
get straight.
problem with something.
Yeah.
I had my pride and joy as a kid was I had the Power Rangers that had the heads that flipped.
Yeah, I remember this.
Yeah, that is every Ross is going crazy, right? Yep. Yeah,
I wasn't big on the Ninja Turtle or the Power Ranger figures, but I did appreciate some of the Zords.
yeah.
Which just saying it out loud, what a stupid name.
Yeah,
that
it's
is, isn't it?
terrible. It's horrific.
Horrible. But like essentially, what was the guy that was the odd man out that wasn't always in there? He was the green in the White
Oh,
Ranger.
yeah.
What was it? It wasn't Tommy
I can't
or
remember.
Jason, one or the other.
Oh, did he die? Oh,
Yeah.
oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, unfortunate. That dude was actually like a legit martial arts expert and stuff
Yeah.
too. But like he always got the cool ones,
Oh,
mostly
yeah.
because they were always standalone.
Dude, the
So you had
saber-tooth tiger? Yeah.
He had the Tiger Zord, he had the Falcon Zord, and the best one of all time, the guy had to play the flute through his dagger through a mask with
And I
no
had that
air hole,
dagger.
for the Dragon Zord,
Yep.
which shot missiles out of its fingertips.
And everywhere else.
It was awesome.
Oh, yeah. By far the best.
It made zero sense,
Yeah.
but it was great.
I mean, and the best part is it was absolutely just a Voltron knockoff.
Dude, that whole show was a knockoff. Did you ever watch like the shows that made us, those kind of documentaries on
No.
Netflix? They did one on the Power Rangers, and the guy that essentially came up with this essentially just took a show that was already in Japan, and they just did the parts that the kids weren't dressed up in the suits for. They put an American, and then they put their own dialogue and stuff over the other parts. So like the show cost him nothing to make, and then he got the rights to the toys and stuff. And like essentially, this guy just came up with the cheapest way to ever make a show in history and just build an empire on it. It was crazy.
Oh, there's so many shows that are just adapted from other places, like Shameless. Did you ever watch that?
My wife did. It was one of those shows that always just like I never really watched it, but it made me really uncomfortable.
That's the point.
I know. and eventually I did take to like The Office, which also,
Yep,
but it was a
another one.
different version of that. That
Yeah.
was like an awkward, uncomfortable. Shameless to me seems like this is not okay kind of uncomfortable. Just some really messed up
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
I think that show could have been a lot better if they did like R-rated version of that on it. Like if that show had come out a little later on a streaming service or
Shameless?
something. Yeah.
I think it was as close as it.
But it was on real TV, right? Wasn't it like FX?
Yeah, it was
or something?
FX,
Like,
yeah.
they're usually the ones that are like scratching the surface.
right on the edge. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that show is horrible.
Mhm.
I never made it all the way through. I think I made it to like season 3 of it, because it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. But no, it just, that was an adaptation. The Office, you talk about Power Rangers I'm sure there's so many others.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, that's even like Mario. Mario wasn't supposed to be Mario. It was supposed to be what was the game?
It came from
The character came from Donkey Kong, but
Right.
like the game itself was a different character, and they just changed it to Mario.
Yeah.
And there's a whole backstory to that one too.
Oh yeah, lots of stuff for that for sure.
Yeah, so much of our childhood was just absolutely stolen stuff. And yet you hear people talking now like, oh, they never come up with fresh ideas. And they didn't come up with fresh ideas when we were kids either. We just didn't know better.
Shannon says
Yes.
the worst part is when the woman carved a swastika into a little boy's head. That's
Yeah.
pretty messed up. Yeah.
Because he's going to juvie.
Yeah. Oh, I've seen
it was
clips of that.
terrible.
Yeah, they're like, it won't mess with you. It's
Yeah.
just gonna help you survive. Like,
Yeah,
ooh.
no, it's not. No, it's not. Oh, yeah, it is. Oh,
It's interesting.
and the bad
to be
part is,
sure.
like you said, that's the worst part. And I'm like, yeah, but there's some others that were really close. Like every episode.
Yeah, it seems a little icky. So let's go back to the current show
Yeah.
and go back to Fallout.
Yes.
Because man, so many little things just on that first episode that if you've played this game, you're like, wow, like they're doing this right. Like we got rad roaches right away. Like we got power armor right away.
She
We
looted
got-
a corpse.
that dude. That was my thing. I was sitting there going like the big battle ended and
Yeah.
they're all about to walk away and I'm like, no.
She bends
You
down.
cannot walk past a corpse without like this is the Fallout. Like
That's
this
the
is
game.
The
That's
wasteland.
the
Like,
point.
there are no resources. You have to take everything that you can get, and then you're gonna craft it into a pipe rifle
Yeah.
later, which you see.
Yeah.
And just the excitement of seeing like the Nuka Colas and me like explaining to Shannon like, oh no, the pop caps, bottle caps are what they use for currency in this game and stuff. And like the fact that I had, so one of my favorite parts about Fallout 4 is that you could create your own custom settlement and you could mod or use various sorts of ways to cheat around like the limits of how big you could make stuff and so
Right.
forth, or like be able to make things that you're not relatively supposed to be. And I made some, my settlement was incredible, but like the system could not generate it from one side to the other. So
Right.
like you'd walk forward and things would just kind of appear as you would. Yeah.
Pop. Yeah.
But so in my main building, I had like a bedroom area and it had a secret door that you had to walk over in a certain place. And when you did, this door would slide open. It was like behind a bookshelf. And when you opened it up, I had shelves on the wall and there was all of these mini nukes lined up on it. And then there was like a pallet-sized floor area on the floor just stacked with old world currency that's not worth anything. But there's like millions of dollars worth of money that is no good to anybody there. I don't know. I just thought it was cool. But the time that it took to do all that stuff, because you'd have to pick up each piece and place it and turn it just right to stack it. And the worst part is like, God forbid your settlement got attacked and there was an explosion on the other side of that wall or you bumped into something. Next time you'd come in, it'd just be laying all
It'll
over
be
the place
falling
in
all over the
disarray.
floor.
And you'd be like, "Hurr."
Yeah. Yay.
Sometimes I like actually went, screw this, I'm going back to my old my previous save, just because it's like it's going to take the last 2 hours I spent out doing things, and coming back here was less time than it took me for me to stack all this stuff up properly in the first place.
So games like that never, like I was never that guy at all. Like I like playing like World of Warcraft. I hated the vast majority of that game, but I liked the arena PvP content. But you had to play all this other stuff just to be able to get the gear to be able to actually play that. And I hated grinding.
So what the best part about Fallout 4 is you had the option. You had to like do very minimal to accomplish a certain goal or whatever, and that was it. They never made you build a settlement to any extreme or anything. Like you had to do this little part, and that was it. If you wanted to walk away from it, you could. You could spend your whole game trying to build your settlement. You could go out and explore the stories.
Yeah.
You could go do anything that you really wanted to do. And for me, the joy of it was going like, okay, it spread the game out.
Yeah.
Because you would go do some missions and come back and take your resources and build something. And like, you ever hear of water farming in that game?
No.
So what I would do is the first settlement, there was a creek that ran through it. And so you could set up water pumps and they would every day, every 24 hours, you couldn't just sit there and sleep. You had to leave and come back. But the next day you'd come back and you'd have like 5 bottles of clean water that were generated from this pump. Then you'd go out and sell them to people outside of your settlements that had limited money. You could only get like 500 caps from them. And then you could come back, or you could buy materials or whatever, come back, build another one, and increase it until eventually my whole creek was full of these gigantic water pumps, and I'd be selling thousands and thousands of credits or caps worth of water every day to then buy material to put back into my place.
Yeah.
But it was cool because you'd be like, okay, like this is getting a little bit old. You go out and then you do missions for, 4 or 5 hours or like the next time you played or whatever. And then you'd come back and be like, hey, I got all these resources. Now I'm going to go back and do this again. It kept you from getting too bored with either thing.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah. I
is
mean,
pretty cool.
those big open world concept games, which there's plenty of now, that is the cool part. It just never did it for me at all. It just because it's not competitive. It's
Okay.
like PvE was never my thing. I was never a player versus environment guy. For those that didn't know.
So you mentioned this arena thing, and that kind of drew me back to something that I did in my settlement. Right? There was a certain point where you could actually set traps for creatures and raiders and stuff like that, and so for some reason they would just work, even if there was no way for people to get to them. Right? The stuff would just end up getting caught in there. You'd look and you'd be like, oh, the trap door's closed. There's a thing in there. So inside of my settlement, I built this huge arena, and around it, I had like all these turrets and stuff, but I'd have them all powered off on a main switch. And then what you would do is you would let everything get captured, and then there was a master off switch that you could hit for the trap power. And so you'd hit the button, and all the things would come out and fight each other. And you could just sit up and spectate.
You set up gladiatorial games in your settlement.
Yes, until they would all start to attack you, and then you just turn on your turrets and then mode down.
They go crazy.
Yeah, it was like the master kill switch. So, yeah, great times. But so one of the things I was explaining to Shannon about this game is like, listen, this is not you. You're not a joystick person. But if they made this, if they ever were like, okay, we've got all this success with it, let's convert this to a VR game where you could play it in VR, just the same old
that'd
version.
Be terrifying.
It would be up her alley for sure, because she's not good with the controls, but she likes to do this stuff with her hands. But the coolest part about those games, and this goes back to what was the one that was popular, the old schoolest one, the not Fallout, the other
Skyrim.
Yeah, Skyrim. Was like you would find these notes laying around, and you'd think it'd be random. You'd read them, and then you'd find another piece of that story, and another piece of that story, and they'd turn into a quest. And you'd see all these messed up things going around. I'm like, Shannon, you don't understand. Like, you'd go into a random vault, and you'd log into a terminal, and see all these like messed up things that these people were writing in their diaries of being like, something's weird, something's going on. Like, I keep feeling dizzy and sick, and like this person got mad for no reason, then they disappeared. And then you'd log into the overseer's terminal and be like, okay, we did this experiment. Like, we started to cut down the food supply, or we started to increase the amount of noxious gas that we're pumping in to see how these people would react. And I'm like it's messed up, man.
It's
like
dark.
what they're doing. And then like you start to see elements of that stuff in the show, and I'm like, oh,
yeah. Yeah, no, I'm not too that. So a couple guys were watching it here.
Yeah.
So I have an idea of what's to come on that, but I did my best not to pay attention to it at all. Yeah.
They put a lot of effort into this show. Like, they put money behind it.
Yeah.
And like it's genuinely, it's not one of these things that people that are really familiar watching like, this is bullcrap. That's not how it goes. Like, they're staying pretty accurate to the source material, which is super cool.
Well, and it's nice to see, but like people get too judgmental on that. Like, there's a lot of times like, guys, the game can't be adapted. Like, if they made, like Mortal Kombat, they tried, but the game is literally
there's no story.
Person, done.
It's
people get a little too sensitive on it, especially when you get something that has the cult following of like a Skyrim or Dungeons and Dragons, or like somebody's gonna be angry no matter what. But I think that the best all-time video game that's converted to a movie's got to be Double Dragons.
Okay.
It was so bad. It was terrible.
What about Street Fighter?
Yeah, dude. At least that they threw like money at like the cast. So like the acting was good, the writing was just terrible.
Was that something we talked about on here, or was that something?
Oh, you know what?
Somewhere?
I think we've done this before.
No. Like, this was very recent that I saw a thing that was the main bad guy in Bison was like, wasn't that like Gomez?
Yeah.
And like this great actor. And like everyone was really surprised.
Yeah, we talked about it here.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. It was like, oh, he was dying.
Why did he do it? Yeah, he knew he was on his way out. His kids loved the game.
Yeah.
Like that's
we got into this because of Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah.
That's what happened. We went down the Jean-Claude Van Damme rabbit hole.
Yeah, you'll have that.
It'll happen from time to time. But here's the thing is, like, for those people that are like, this is not what happened in the game or in this material, in the book. And it's like, okay, but all that stuff like the back of your hand. Did you really want to just see the exact same thing you'd already knew, because then you
Yeah.
might get bored with it.
There's already a
You know what I mean?
storyline that you've experienced.
Right. There's no surprises there for you. You know what I mean? Like there's no anticipation.
My favorite book that I've read was the Dark Tower series. So it's actually 7 or 8 books. And by far my favorite,
What was it?
The Dark Tower
Okay.
by Stephen King.
Okay.
And then they did the movie. And the first time I watched the movie, I was just angry with it. But then I heard an explanation of why the story, like, because that movie, the characters are the characters from the books, but like, that's it.
Yeah.
That's that, you know, everything in it is from the books, but like the story doesn't match. And there's a good reason why that all took place like that. And I was like, oh. And I rewatched it. I'm like, okay, this is awesome now. The only thing that was terrible about that was Matthew McConaughey was the wrong person to play the bad guy.
Yeah.
He just does not fit the bill at all.
Okay, that's fair.
So
Here's the thing: nerds are going to be mad. I mean, it's just what they do. You look at the people that love Star Wars and hate George Lucas. Like, he gave you the thing that you love, and then you just
despise him.
crap on him,
Yeah,
and
nonstop.
like literally gave him such a sense of anxiety that he was just like, "Here, Disney, you take it.
Yeah,
you have these guys. Like, I don't feel like dealing with them anymore. Here, give me all the money. I'll give all the money to charity, and then you can deal with these nerds."
Yeah, I'm not a big Avatar guy, but I don't know, on a reel or something the other day. I guess they filmed Avatar 2, 3, and 4 all at the same time to avoid the
aging.
What did they call it though? The Stranger Things effect, where like
the audience
between
affects
seasons,
people or what?
No, Stranger Things from the show, because the kids had growth spurts because they were all like that prime age for like growth spurts. They're like, yeah, this happened yesterday, and that kid was 3 years younger. You know, stuff like that. But you talk about Lucas and Cameron, like they do such elaborate stuff that, look, man, crap on them all you want, but they create some cool stuff. Like I said, I'm not even a fan of Avatar, but I respect what he did with it.
Yeah. Well, you listen to like interviews with Mark Hamill, and they're like, what they did to these poor people, like the fans, what they did to the actors, like Hayden Christensen, like that guy quit acting after the prequels because it was so
They were
bad.
so bad.
And now, like, it's so nice to see him be redeemed by the Obi-Wan series and like all this love he's getting. And you could see in his face, like, oh my God, they finally, like, I don't even think it's like he needed them to love him. It's just like, just that, okay, I can kind of let this go. All this hate that I've gotten all these years, now these people love me, and it's like, I can let that go.
Yeah.
But the little kid that played Anakin in the first movie, like they terrorized that little boy. And Mark Hamill was like, he was a 10-year-old kid that just did exactly what George told him to do.
Yeah.
And I don't think his performances were bad as bad as Hayden Christensen's. But Mark's like, man, like, this, he writes clunky dialogue, man.
If
like,
you want any proof of that, look at Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah. It's like, and then Jar Jar thing everyone gets so mad about. And George is like, these movies are made for kids. And you're attached to your childhood version of it. But now you're not that kid anymore. This is no longer being made for you.
Yeah, it never stood a chance with the nerds.
No, because this is not going to be your Star Wars. This is the Star Wars for the kids. It always has been. You just didn't know it because you were looking through it through a different set of eyes at the time.
From the design,
like the people get mad about the Ewoks. Like, how can you not love an army of teddy bears, you know, toppling the Imperial war machine?
Yes. Oh man. So mine is kicked. It is definitely a shorter smoke.
Yes.
But it overall fantastic cigar.
To be fair. Hour and 20 minutes. You know, that's about where we both end up at. I'm just kind of holding on to mine, Nick.
Yeah.
Puffing on it for the rest of the show. But what was your take?
Really good. I need to smoke it again.
Yeah. And that's a good place to be, especially from the guy selling the cigars.
Yeah, it's honestly my coffee just like terrorized it. It is not a coffee cigar at all. That
should fire whoever made that coffee.
Yeah, right. That with an Ajo tequila would be fantastic.
I like tequila.
Like a dark like thicker tequila would be amazing. Yeah, Seneca just said he's halfway through and it's really ramping up. That's something I noticed too. The first half was flavorful and good, and I was like, man, there's none of that kick that I remember at all. And then about the halfway mark, it just starts turning it up. So
I like where it's turning up to, though.
Yeah.
It's not unpleasant or overwhelming. It's way more aggressive on the retro now.
Yes. And I enjoyed that a lot. But again, with the coffee, it was just the wrong choice for me. Like with the Monster or something sweeter like that, it's got to be really good.
This is good for sure.
Yeah.
One of the most disappointing things about today, like we're the junkies, man. We just go with it. We figure it out, right? We're always trying to overcome some sort of horrible problem. And
some self-induced horrible problem. Let's clarify. We always do this to ourselves.
I don't know if it's self-induced, but like we can't
plugged it into the wrong spot.
You can't blame anybody else. Is kind of it. It's not like, oh man, like you have to. It's like, man, you stumble a little bit.
Yeah.
But one of the worst things was I was going like, okay, Jason's not here. We'll deal with it. It'd be a lot easier to deal with it if I could just do my tequila at the beginning of the show.
Oh, you working today?
Yeah, I work 3 to 11.
Yeah, not so much.
Well, even if I wasn't, I probably would be since Jason can't. So at least I was supposed to work.
Yeah.
Right? I don't have to worry about picking up his shift because he can't get there. But it would have been probably helpful. But I think this has been a good show so far. I've liked it.
I enjoyed it very much.
It's nice to do the old school ones every once in a while. But it's funny. So like, we're in this weird place of trying to be organized where we are just basically incapable. Like, we're trying to put shackles on the chaos of this show by going, hey, let's get organized and figure stuff out.
Yeah.
Right. And I've been doing the last couple of days, I've been going back through some of the older material so that we can catalog, hey, what have we smoked? Who have we had on the show? What happened here and there? And just so that we could look back at it and like have reference. Good history and reference. So we're not repeating at least cigars and things like that. But the amount of times that I did have to like open up one of the old shows, like the audio, and just kind of listen and go, what was the cigar of the week or something like that, because it wasn't in the title of the show, and listen to immediately, there were technical problems. And I didn't necessarily hear them, but we'd be talking about like the difficulty in starting up the show. Right. One of them in particular was like, another Zoom disaster with Veritas.
Yeah.
Right. And it's funny because back in those days, it was just me. There was no Jason. Yeah. And Sam would just be chilling there on the other side. He's like, listen, man, I can't complain because all I got to do is sit here and wait to talk. Yep. And he'd be like, there's a problem and you find it and you fix it and we go.
Yeah. I never gave you crap for it because I'm not helping.
Like, until now.
Yeah, but dude, you plugged it in. Like, if you plugged it into the wrong USB port, it'd be one thing. But you plugged a USB into an Ethernet port, bud.
Well, the biggest problem that we have here is that there are wrong USB ports.
Yes.
And so you're going, okay, what goes where? And you're moving stuff. I'm like, at least I plugged the audio cable into the right port. But yeah, there's something to be said for like, I might just see if in one of my boxes, because I used to have to build Cat5 cables and stuff. So like, see if I just have an end I could put in there, because I never use that jack.
Actually, might have one back in the closet.
Wi-Fi all the time, right? So it's like I just put it in there, and you won't have to worry about
leave it there.
It's like I just throw a butt plug in there, and you won't have to worry about going in the wrong hole.
Yeah, problem solved.
Just block the entrance.
Eric had lots of comments when you did that. Eyebrows went up. There was a lot of excitement. It's
grateful for these headphones right now.
And the best part is, as soon as you said that, Ross's head went down because he knew it was coming. He was like, "Oh, here we go." You had to do it.
Oh, sounds like Ross has been violated by Eric's maybe
piece of information that I learned yesterday that I never
you have to know it. So now everyone else has to know 100%. It too. Let's go.
Did you know there's different colored ball gags?
I've just seen the red.
Right.
Yeah.
But I come to find out there's a variety of colors. And I was more shocked by the fact that I never contemplated that there could be different colors than I was the fact that there are different colors.
All right, so I'm gonna
like you said, I know it now. Everybody has to.
Yeah. I'm gonna one up you. So you're not as into the reels as a lot of people are, but I'm sure there has to be like you have like 2 minutes of downtime and you're gonna scroll for
there. Now you've seen it too. Now it's stuck in your head too.
So have you seen this new trend of you'll just be flipping through and it'll be like, okay, there's these girls are doing this thing and it's a gymnastic thing or a yoga, and all of a sudden there's the little blinky light. They got the tail light.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, there's a
hello.
rainbow. That lady's got a rainbow colored tail light.
Yep.
So I'm like, all right, this is kind of fun. Until then the other day I'm watching, like I'm scrolling through, there's a video and there's all these people doing these like wild trampoline jumps or whatever. And the girls do it. It's like, oh, nice. And then the guy does it, and he's got the blinky tail light, and I'm like, oh,
nah,
you just ruined it.
Yeah, that whole trend is dead now. That one's over.
Well, I don't know if it's dead. I just think that the other people own it now, too.
Yeah.
It's like, we didn't want to share that, man. Like, that was just for us. Damn it, now.
The alternative folks.
Mm-hmm. There should be
the other guys.
Like, Facebook, if you really want to help us, like, don't censor everybody. Just like allow it to tailor toward your orientation or whatever. Just be like, I'd like to see the girls with the taillights, but the boys not so much. Or like maybe you want both, or maybe you want one or the other. But can we just like, you know, like maybe
even the coffee pot's telling you to stop, bud.
Well, maybe the Republicans and Democrats wouldn't get so angry at each other if you could just be like, no, just show me the right wing crap or just show me the left wing crap. Then they wouldn't have that
goes down a whole rabbit hole.
Oh, it's more like a rabbit canyon.
Yes.
Rabbit canyon.
It's like a rabbit Eric.
That sounds like the next whiskey or cigar craze, the Rabbit Canyon.
It's just the disappointment on Ross's face when I said that. He just turned away.
Canyonero. Okay,
man.
so can I'm gonna be like I'm gonna air out a little bit of one of my default character poornesses that I have here. Wow, like it's funny because the show went from like an hour and 5 minutes flew, and then I look like an hour 9 minutes to an hour and that's why. I'm like, this felt like it's been a long time between an hour and 9 minutes and an hour and 11 minutes, and then it just jumped up to an hour and 27 minutes.
That would make sense.
I'm like, okay, now I'm not going crazy. Okay, character defect of Corey. Not always great with names. Ross, I forget it every time. And I want to call him Russ. And I even put him one of those like idiomatic things in my brain where I'm like, no, from Friends. He's going to be like Ross from Friends. And I still somehow today I blanked on it again, so I couldn't like go up and like really talk to him because I'm like,
so I'm gonna
mess it up.
The one that I used
pivot.
That's
how I'm gonna that's how I'm gonna lock it into my brain.
So I went with Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Ooh.
His last name's Abbott. Hey Abbott. And then I learned that and remembered that, and I was like, okay, now I just got to tie a first name to it. I'm good.
See, I would end up calling him Roger.
Roger
Rabbit.
And there you go, bud. You've got a following. Did you want it?
If you ever have a son, I dare you to name him Roger.
Please do.
Roger Rabbit.
That's fantastic.
It's pretty good.
Oh, do we want to wrap it? I think we're at that point, bud, because no Cigar is no fun.
Yeah, let's actually, I'm going to try to pay attention to not skipping the things that I normally do. What we normally do is we flip to the back page and just go straight to the bottom.
Did you notice I've been holding my hand on it to force myself to remember, so we didn't do that again?
Well, we already did the participation trophy of the week, but again, another nod to Kevin and Dina for showing. But we can skip over the little memo I have at the top because that was for content to get us to 130, and it was intended
as if we ever need that.
Well, that was intended to be for last week's show when RJ was here.
Yeah,
because it was like, oh, okay, you guys went to a hockey game. Like that could be some content if we need something
sports related. Yeah,
something just to focus on, like right instead of going all over the place. Welcome to the group, RJ Haley. If you had cuddled with Jason last night, he'd be here right now.
Yeah,
and
snuggle time.
Michael Jelinek. That's a name.
That's it. Only two.
You got anything to add before I go into the end here?
No, I think that about covers. Next week we've got Luciano Morales is gonna be here.
Okay, and we're smoking Luciano, but we don't
know which one yet. So. Yeah, he's gonna be joining us on the show, and then
mystery part 2.
Dun dun dun. And then 1 to 5, he'll be here with Liberty Pool. So I'm really excited for that event. From everything that the rep told me about it, the nerd in me is losing his mind. So
Hell yeah. Well, bear in mind that you can find us in our favorite place, the cigarjunkies.com. There you can find our newest content, whether it be on YouTube, Spotify, all those happy things. Please make sure you guys like, subscribe, and share on every platform. That helps us out a lot. Some of the people here have been slacking, apparently, because they don't know what the finger trap is yet. And that's really sad. You know what I mean? We gotta get on that. We gotta do something about that because there's material out there. We're putting it out there for you guys, and if you're not here in person, you're just like skipping over it, which is disappointing. And really, you're only hurting yourself.
Yeah,
you know what I
you're
mean?
missing out on all the fun.
You can also go to justatipcigars.com and you can find out what's going on over here at the shop. Please support Cigars for Warriors, Cigar Rights of America. Their links can be found in every episode description every week on every platform. We put that in there for you guys to find it. Like Sam said, you can see us smoke a Luciano next week every morning, Sunday morning, 9:30 a.m.
Salud.
Yeah.